nobody knows who the hell they are, Cheryl. These aren't the interpreters that we taught. These were people that rushed into the planes, and they were so interested in trying to make it sound like, oh, they're doing a good job. These people, many of these people are going to be terrorists, okay? They're going to be terrorists. They were very powerful. They were very energetic in getting onto the aircraft.
They say they're vetting them very carefully with biometrics and documentation.
They're not doing that, and you can't because there is no documentation in that country.
All right, folks, this is Harris Sultan. I'm sorry to say I have some bad news to share with you. 2 National Guardsmen in critical condition and victims of targeted shooting in D.C., Mayor says. And President Trump has also addressed the nation, and he's commented on that. So let's have a quick look what he's saying.
Earlier today, on the eve of the Thanksgiving holiday, 2 members of the National Guard serving in Washington, D.C., were shot at point-blank range in a monstrous ambush-style attack just steps away from the White House. They'd been deputized as part of the most successful public safety and national security mission in the history of our nation's capital, the D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force, which has achieved an unprecedented reduction in violent crime and crimes of all type. This heinous assault was an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror. It was a crime against our entire nation. It was a crime against humanity. The hearts of all Americans tonight are with those 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard and their families. The love of our entire country is pouring out for them, and we are lifting them up in our prayers. America will never bend and never yield in the face of terror. And at the same time, we will not be deterred from the mission these service members were so nobly fulfilling. That is why tonight I can announce that I have directed the Department of War to mobilize an additional 500 troops to help protect our capital city. We will make America totally safe again, and we will bring the perpetrator of this barbaric attack to swift and certain justice.
So who is the perpetrator of this barbaric attack? The left, my goodness, they hate America. They hate their own country. And it's the same pretty much in every Western country. The left immediately jumps in. Check this out. So this guy, Lucas Sanders, we better check who he is or where is he from? Minneapolis. Okay. He's an American. So he says, new image shows the suspect in the National Guard shooting. It doesn't appear to be black, trans, immigrant. How will MAGA spin this? Look at this. So this is a guy. Okay. So they're thinking that this is some white supremacist MAGA lunatic. That's what they're thinking. And he's had 1.2 million views, 2.3K. And look at some of the comments. I actually saw some lunkheads insisting that it was an Arab-looking guy. Ridiculous. This guy's clearly white, isn't he? Look at this one. Lucas Sanders, exactly. Ha ha. Angie Rivers, nasty Canadian woman, says, they will say he's radical left or a Dem. Yep, of course they will. So, as it turns out, the guy was an asylum seeker from Afghanistan who came to America in 2021. I know this was a dilemma at that time because America and the UK, and I think Australia too, all the allies took in a lot of Afghans who supported the allies, who supported America. So America was left with a difficult choice. Either leave them in Afghanistan at the mercy of the Taliban or bring them to safety in Western countries. Unfortunately, what's that story of the snake? I'm sorry. I watched that Jake Gyllenhaal movie as well, and I felt bad for them, and I know. But again, this is not how the world works. You just don't know who's coming in. So as it turns out, the guy has been identified as Rahmanullah Lakanwal, an Afghan illegal who entered the United States under the Biden administration, shouting Allahu Akbar. CNN actually did a report on that too. So let's have a listen to what they're saying.
What we know is that he comes here from Afghanistan. Now, this is a guy who's been living in Washington State, not Washington, D.C., on the other end of the country. He comes here from Afghanistan in the summer of 2021. Remember what that was like. Refugees fleeing Afghanistan, people had to be recommended by U.S. people on one end, vetted on this end by government background checks as far as they could do in Afghanistan. I
remember there was a news story when some of these Afghan refugees were flown into the US, and temporarily the US military created some accommodation in the military hangars. And one of the refugees actually sexually assaulted a female servicewoman in the same hangar. Let me see if I can find that. There it is. Let me show you this. I remember I was criticizing that at that point as well. Female US service member allegedly assaulted by male Afghan refugees at Fort Bliss. There you go. The FBI is investigating after a female U.S. service member.
The FBI is investigating a report by a female U.S. service member who says a group of Afghan refugees at an evacuee center near Fort Bliss assaulted her. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze joins us from Washington with much more on this story. Elizabeth, good morning to you.
Dan, good morning to you. Well, the FBI is investigating this allegation that a female U.S. service member was assaulted by a group of male Afghan evacuees at a military complex in New Mexico. Thousands of Afghan evacuees are currently being housed at the Fort Bliss Doña Ana complex. It's part of a major effort by the federal government to resettle Afghans who fled the country during the chaotic U.S. troop withdrawal. Now, in a statement, a Fort Bliss official confirmed that a female service member helping with this relocation effort reported being assaulted on September 19th by a small group of male evacuees. We don't yet know the details surrounding this alleged assault, but the official says the service member immediately received appropriate care, counseling, and support. Now, GOP Congresswoman Yvette Harrell, who represents the district where this complex is located, responded in a tweet saying, "My prayers are with this courageous soldier and her family," and calling this a tragic failure in the vetting process for Afghan nationals.
How are you going to tell whether someone's going to rape you or not? How can you vet someone for that? When you bring in people from cultures that are heavily patriarchal, misogynistic, then these things are going to happen. It's no accident that European women are being mass raped. In Britain, they're Pakistani men. In France, they're Algerian and Moroccans. In Germany, they're Turks. In Spain, it's the Moroccans. There's a common denominator. These men are coming from Muslim societies. They are brainwashed from a very young, early age that women who do not dress according to the Islamic dress code, like burqas or hijabs or niqabs, depending on whichever flavor of Islam you subscribe to, then it means they're asking for it. So those Afghan men, when they saw that US servicewoman wearing normal Western clothes, they saw an opportunity. On this channel, there's a playlist of migrants or refugees. Go check that out. I have covered so many of these stories. These men come from third world horny cultures, so they're not only a risk to Western women, but they're also stabbing and killing Western men. So let's get back to the original story.
Have sponsors and so on. He settled in Washington. He applies for asylum in December of 2024. Now he goes through another vetting process involving that, and he's approved for asylum in April of this year under the Trump administration.
Under the Trump administration, wow, look at that. They had to throw that in. So Trump is personally responsible for this. Wow. You know what that is going to do? I know a lot of legal asylum seekers. I know a lot of people who do want asylum. I'm sorry, it's sad. I know there are a lot of ex-Muslims trying to flee to countries like Afghanistan and Pakistan, but there's no other way. You have to put a moratorium on all male asylum seekers, not females, male asylum seekers, because a lot of women, you know, if they're single and no kids, yeah, they should be, because there are a lot of ex-Muslims. There are a lot of Christian female asylum seekers that I know of.
He comes in under the Biden administration. These checks are being done. I remember as a part of the Joint Terrorism Task Force in New York, where we supplied people for that vetting process, it was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of people. They were being kept in military installations. A lot of that vetting had to be done very quickly. I also remember we had to go back afterwards when we found information on certain people and bring them back. In this case, that's all we know about this individual, but it appears that he must have done work either for or with the United States and Afghanistan to become part of the Allies Welcome Program and be brought here. That still doesn't get us closer to motive.
This is bad news for all those Islamist and Muslim propagandists who cry Islamophobia, who try to gaslight you every time a Muslim misbehaves or does something. Instead of admitting their faults, what they do, they actually gaslight you. They accuse you of racism, bigotry, Islamophobia. By the way, this has all happened in Europe. Okay, now they're trying to do that in America. Where's Mehdi Hassan? I haven't seen a single tweet from him. He's probably sulking somewhere in the corner, crying about it. So President Trump has posted on Truth Social, the animal that shot the 2 National Guardsmen, with both being critically wounded and now in 2 separate hospitals, is also severely wounded. But regardless, he will pay a very steep price. God bless our great National Guard and all of our military and law enforcement. These are truly great people. I, as President of the United States, and everyone associated with the office of the presidency, am with you. Now I'm with you too, my dear Americans.
We're not going to put up with these kind of assaults on law and order by people who shouldn't even be in our country. We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden, and we must take all necessary measures to ensure the removal of any alien from any country who does not belong here or add benefit to our country. If they can't love our country, we don't want them. America will never bend and never yield in the face of terror. And at the same time, we will not be deterred from the mission these service members were so nobly fulfilling.
And guess what? They're actually still saying that we don't know the motive. He's a Muslim. He's an Islamist. He hates America. What more motive do you need? That's it. That's good enough for them to pull the trigger.
What we know, Andrea, is that this is a targeted shooting. One individual who appeared to target these guardsmen, that individual has been taken into custody.
He attacked the men in uniform because he hates America. That's it. It's as simple as that. He was an illegal alien from Afghanistan, overstayed a visa granted to him by Joe Biden, born in 1996, last known address in Washington State, not in D.C., thousands of miles from D.C. Look at this. This is horrible. Absolutely horrible. That's awful. This is pure hatred. How can you move to a country that gives you a new shot at life and you just spit at it? How? I just can't wrap my head around it. Look at him.
Just in, sources are telling Fox News that the shooter is an illegal immigrant from Afghanistan who came in during Operation Allies, welcome under the Biden administration, and he overstayed that visa. All right, Chairman. So Fox News is learning that this person was here illegally, overstayed his visa, and that's who this shooter profile is. What's your immediate reaction?
Well, my immediate reaction is we tried desperately to get an accounting of all the people that came from Afghanistan to the United States during that disastrous withdrawal during the Biden administration. That was a huge priority for the House Oversight Committee. We never got that information. We were never allowed to get that information because I don't think the government had any idea. I don't think they kept an accurate accounting. And if they did, I think they realized there were probably lots of gaps. We were told there were going to be about 2,000 people that had worked with our military as people that tried to help with the cause to help protect our troops in Afghanistan. Right. But then at the end of the day, there were closer to 100,000. But we don't know what that number was, and I don't think the government has kept good track of it.
Let me show you these shameless liberals. So you know how he was saying this? New image shows the suspect is neither black, trans, or immigrant. And when it becomes clear that he was an illegal immigrant or an asylum seeker, he goes, he got asylum. He got legal asylum by the Trump administration this year in April. So what's your point? They have no shame. They have no shame. These people are just as bad as the Islamists. They hate their own country. And something tells me that they're not friends of America. Not just America. They hate the entire Western civilization. I hate him. Ask Israel. Israel is the only country who's been dealing with him. Now you understand the value of Israel? Israel is the frontline state in this war against Islam and Islamism. That's the kind of hatred that they have to live with every day. They teach their children from a very young age to hate the infidels, to hate the kuffar, to hate the West. When you're brainwashed and indoctrinated with such kind of hatred for so long, it's almost impossible to overcome that hate. These people don't like America. Contrary to whatever these wokes and liberals tell you, these people do not like America.
America is the cancer. America the American government, secularism, democracy, capitalism, these are cancers that have spread their illness all over the world. In America and in the Middle East. In America over here, people have the freedom to, again, like I said before, commit zina, do oas fahisha, but when you speak up, it's a problem. Non-Muslims are tired of this cancer. They're tired of the American government. They're tired of democracy. They want to see a new way of life. And as Muslims, we have to understand that we have that new way of life.
You guys, I need to talk to you about something super serious, and it's this right here. Like, burning the American flag. It's just, wallahi, it's a beautiful sight, but it's not enough. We need to burn down every capitalist and imperialist system that exists. We need to burn the US government, aka global terrorist organization, down to the fucking ground. We can no longer allow the worst, most violent, evil, disgusting people to lead us, because they're going to continue making the world a waking nightmare for everybody. So go ahead and keep burning the disgusting, blood-stained, genocidal, shitty United States flag that was created by slave owners. I could give two shits, but also make sure you're doing your part to dismantle all of the systems that make all of these atrocities in the world possible. Thank you, and free Palestine.
I guess the question for you is, are you going to wake up and smell the coffee? And you're going to remind them that who is the boss? America is the world's sole superpower. It's the most powerful country in the history of humanity. It doesn't deserve to be treated like this. Its citizens, its people in uniform do not deserve to be treated like this. I think America has never faced an enemy like this. These people are indoctrinated from childhood. It's not like when you get a Nazi out of Nazi Germany, then he somehow lets go of his ideology. It's not like when you get a communist out of a communist country and resettle him in America, then he says, okay, you know what? Now I'm going to have a fresh start. No, it doesn't work that way with Islamists or even Muslims, dare I say. Look, for radical problems, we need radical new solutions. If anyone who says that I'm a Muslim first, deport them. It's not your responsibility. It's not. Otherwise, you'll keep getting your women raped, your men stabbed, and your service member killed. This is no way to go forward. Islam does not belong in the West. Keep Islam out of your country.